let's go to RX Pro. RX Pro, where's that at? RX. Let's put this over here. Let's put this shit over here like so. All right. What's up, Mario? What's up, Marxist? How y'all living? Let's see. How can I do this? Where's RX Pro? RXR. Where's that shit? There it is. All right. I'm just in here fucking around with some music. I just recorded this little sample in, and I'm gonna do some fun shit with it. First I'm gonna take the drums out of this shit. Let's go. Let's find this sample. What was that? William Devon, but that was the organ cover. All right, let's see. Y'all know this song? This is one of my favorite soul songs of all time. It's a cover of it by a group named Orgoni. All right, so basically what I'm doing is sometimes I find samples of stuff I like, and like this, I'm going to take the drums out. Then I take it into my Ableton and change the tune, probably slow it down, and then I feed it into AI, and now they got this crazy shit in these programs like Suno and Udio where you can cover a piece of music. So I might go into my Ableton and laid out a bunch of guitars and like a bed of music with chords and a melody and like a feeling, but pretty rough, you know, maybe like a 30-minute sketch. And then I can take it in, cover it, and then do a prompt that's like early 70s soul, horns, and it will take that bed of music I made and keep the chords and the melodies, but sonically transfer it into basically like a, you know, a sample that you'd hear and be like, oh shit, that's a 70s record. It's pretty nuts. It's awesome because like the days of having to clear samples, and not that I ever did. I've sampled all kinds of stuff and I never really clear it because, you know, if somebody sues you, that means you're getting enough plays that like it actually matters, which would be a good problem to have. I don't have that problem. So I don't really pay to clear samples. So yeah, it's pretty gnarly because like it's endlessly inspirational to be able to just like make a bed of music and take it in and prompt it and put in early 70s, and sonically it will like sample a million different records from that period and make this collage sonically, and it'll sound like, you know, that piece of music you made is now through this filter like it was recorded in the 70s. And you can do that inside like Ableton and the programs you make music by throwing things out of tune and saturating them and distorting them a little, but it still doesn't quite capture the sonics of like a record made in the 70s. But since all these like AI music things basically like are making a collage of all these different songs from them and using pieces of actual recording in some weird way. You get the actual feeling and tone. So it's like, it's amazing because I like shit that sounds a little bit warbly and degraded and sounds like it's from the 70s or sampled from a vinyl. And now you can do that without having a clear sample or do any crazy shit. Palon, I'm not sure how you say your name. Paleon. Thanks for dropping in, man. I'm glad the tunes have helped. There'll be more coming, man. More coming. I got one I'm about to finish and put out pretty soon. I got so many tunes. I'm trying to find the time to just like mix shit and drop shit like every 2 weeks. Not really overthink it or get too heady on like, oh, is this amazing? Is this the greatest song of all time? But more so just like it's a really good tune. It's better out in the world than sitting on a laptop. So just would like to be able to keep just dropping them rapid fire. All right, this thing's almost done. Sucking the drums out of this. It's pretty amazing now, too. I can take that sample that has a drummer in it, drop it in a piece of software called RX, and literally strip out instruments. So I can say, I want everything in this recording, but I want a version where there's no drums. And I'll just take the drums and mute the drum track, and then I get this sample without the drums. Because this I'm thinking of, it's like boop, boop, chat, boop, chat. But I kind of want to make it almost like a really upbeat house type thing. How y'all living out there? You guys got anything good going on this weekend? That shit's empty. Crickets. About par for the course. West Virginia, what's up, Jay? Virginia repping. Where you at in West Virginia, brother? Morgantown. I had some buddies that went to Morgantown and went up there. I remember they were in this fraternity and like all the kids were fucking hooked on pills and drinking a bottle of liquor a day and lighting sofas on fire. And man, it was madness. McDowell. Oh shit, McDowell. You're in like the Appalachians, huh? I think I've been to McDowell. Crazy. I think I've actually been to McDowell when I was young. My mom ran like the youth group at this church we went to sometimes. I mean, she went all the time. I went occasionally. And every year they would have this service project that was in the Appalachians. And yeah, I'm pretty sure one of the years we went to, I know that I've heard that name McDowell, and right away I was like, Appalachia. Yeah, so I remember going out there. I'm pretty sure we went to McDowell, and we would go for like a week at a time and just work on these houses. Only income here is at Riders. What is Riders? All right, this shit's almost done. Let's see what we got. What's up, Call Blue, Cali Blue? How you living?
'Cause though you may not drive a great big Cadillac, gangsta white balls and TV angel in the back, you may not have all, but remember, brothers and sisters, you can still stand tall. The church did not go for what you got. Though you may not drive a great big Cadillac, diamond in the back, sunroof top, digging the scene with a gangster lean, gangster white wall, and TV angel in the back. You may not have the car at all, no, but remember, brothers and sisters, you can still stand tall. Just did not what you got. Down in the back, sun on top, digging the scene with a gasoline. Down in the back, sun on top, digging the scene with a gasoline. Oh yeah, down in the back, sun on top, digging the scene with a gasoline. Down in the back, sun on top, digging the scene with a gasoline. And though you may not drive a great dirty night, sun on top. What up, John? That's where I was recording it and the goddamn YouTube commercial came on. All right, so I'm going to take that little horn part and let's see. Drive a great big Cadillac, gangsta white balls, and TV angel in the back. What up, man? all. But remember, brothers and sisters, you can still say so. Just a great big
John, yeah, I can probably find that instrumental, man. I got it on my computer somewhere. I can email it to you too if you drop your email. Oh, stupid fucking.
Cause though you may not drive a great big Cadillac,
Alright, let's try this. Let's try that. Let's fuck around with that. Let's try this. All right, we're gonna have some fun here. Mike, that's awesome, man. I'm gonna try to be hopping on here more. Just anytime I'm cooking up, just put on the camera, and anybody who wants to pop in. It's kind of sometimes it's long, slow process. Sometimes it's quick. Sometimes I'm making beats, and sometimes I'm writing stuff. I'm gonna do something with this sample and see if I can get something interesting here by, let's go home. I want to create library. I want to upload audio. Then we're going to take that little horn bit. We're going to be thankful. We're going to be thankful. All right. Now we're going to have some fun. We're going to take. Oh, shit. We're going to take that little sample and run it through this AI, and I'm going to prompt it to make it early 70s and like full live brass. Let's see what it does. This is pretty amazing that you can do this. So now I'm going to take that audio. I'm going to hit cover. Then I'm going to put it on what? We'll put it on instrumental. Prompt it. Their prompt's going to be early 70s. Soul, neo, psychedelia, brass, horns, live, live horns, no drum. I don't want drums in this shit because it'll do it at halftime. No drums, no percussion, no kick. No snare, no hi-hats. Please abide. All right, let's see what it spits out. It's pretty wild. What's up, Jeremiah? What's up, Salt? Welcome. Just in here cooking up a little bit. Crub, you said 3 bars to 2 into 6. Try it. Let's see what we get out of here. Thanks, Jeremiah. I appreciate it, man. All right. So we dropped in that. Let's see what the AI made out of this prompt. Sometimes you got to cook up like 20 of them because it'll just do weird, funky shit. And then sometimes it'll just do some incredible shit. All right, so that sounds really cool, but it sounds obviously way too much. It basically just took the original. We needed to get a little bit weird and get a little creative and change it up a little more. All right, that sounds amazing too, but a little too close to the original. Sounds just like the damn thing. We might have to like prompt it to make a folk song and see what it does. Oh, by the way, I haven't talked about this yet, but I just finished my first novel right here. We are gathered here today to solve a riddle as old as time. Maybe I'll get on stream one day and read the whole shit. So basically, I've been working on this novel. I turned the whole thing into an online program. And I also built an app, a mobile app, where in the book, there's a character called the Master. It's basically about this guy who's kind of a simp and lost with women in the world and himself, and he ends up paying all this money to go hear this master speak, and he thinks he got scammed. He spent thousands of dollars on it, and years later in the mail, he gets this piece of mail with this cryptic kind of mysterious card that says the master returns to America. And he ends up going to this auditorium in southern Florida and sitting there at 4 a.m. waiting for this guy to come, the master. And then the master arrives and the story unfolds, and the master is kind of this wise esoteric kind of pimp. He's kind of, it goes on. The guys came to learn to like pimp in the lowercase pimp, and like meet women, get girls, and learn to get laid and that type of thing. And they learn that, the pimp is not he who fucks a lot of women, but he who fucks the shit out of life type of thing. And so I took the master and coded his whole personality and his whole wisdom and knowledge base into this conversational agent. So if you get the app, you can literally just hit the call button and talk to the master in real time. And so you can ask him anything. Like you can say, hey, I've been dating this girl and I just found out she hooked up with her professor. Should I give her another chance? And the master will hit you with his like raw, he doesn't sugarcoat it. So yeah, that's going to be done and hopefully launched to the Apple App Store in like probably 2 months. So when that comes, I'm going to drop the book, the online program, and the app pretty much all at the same time and go really hard on it. That's part of the reason I haven't, been posting as much on socials and all that, as I've just been in the zone on these other projects. Because, I'd love to sit and make music all day, but unless you're like really popping, it's just hard to make a living and pay the rent and shit. So, got all this other stuff in the works. Let's see this. Let's try this. Let's see what happens if we convert this into a folk song with acoustic guitars. Oh, Salt That's Sick, what's your book about, man? Crub, tell us the moment you worked with Rick Rubin. So the way that came about was I met this dude in an elevator at Atlantic Records, and I just started doing this thing where I was like, all right, whenever I get in an elevator with people, I'm just gonna say hello, because you get in elevators and like you're in there with one person and people don't say shit. So I was like, I just decided this in my head, anytime I'm in the elevator with a person, I'm just gonna strike up a conversation, even if they seem kind of reserved or not that open to it. So I started talking to this dude who ended up, funny enough, being Banks, the singer Banks' publisher, and the guy who published her. And I had actually catfished her with this song. I hit her up pretending to be Brian Eno and said, hey, I've got this song. She ended up singing it, and it was in contention with the Weeknd tune to be the 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack, which, oh man, if that had gone, it would have been incredible, because like the paychecks for those is insane, and two, the story would have been pretty amazing that I catfished on there and they thought it was Brian Eno the whole time. So I ended up telling him, hey, that Banks song, I did a song with Banks. Between me and you, they think I'm Brian Eno. And he goes, oh my God, the Brian Eno song. You mean that wasn't Brian Eno? It was you who made it. And I was like, yeah. I hit him up with my music saying it was me. And they said, we don't work with outside producers. Thanks a lot. I hit him back a week later, pretending to be a famous producer. And all of a sudden they did work with outside producers if you were, Brian Eno. But anyway, So me and him hit it off, and he emailed me like a week later, and he's like, "Yo, I got this guy who um is um works at Epic as an A&R, and he's looking for songs and a producer for this girl he's about to sign to Epic." And this is right when I had decided to like go on the artist path, and I was over the songwriting and the pitching, and I already knew what that meant. I was going to sit and probably produce all her songs, spent a couple months on it, then they put it out, and as soon as anything got popping, they would flop and move over to all the big producers. Like, it's always the way they fucking do the bullshit. And I was like, man, I'm not playing this game. And I just said, hey, I'm kind of getting out of the songwriting game. I appreciate it though. And he said, cool. Just by the way, he works with Rick Rubin. And so I hit him back, and I was like, send him over. So dude came over. I played a bunch of stuff that could work for the girl, he was working with. And then I was like, hey, let me play you some of my artist stuff so you can kind of hear how the songwriting and the production like is all married together. And he did that face when producers are like, oh, I'm an artist, let me play you my artist stuff. Most A&Rs are like, oh God, like, here we go. Because most producers are producers for a reason, because they're better at being producers, and their artist music is not great a lot of times. Sometimes it is. And so I ended up playing it for him, and I could tell he was just like, oh God, let's do this. And I played it, and he ended up flipping out, making me play this one song like 8 times in a row. And he ended up saying pretty much like, hey, I'm not leaving your house until you say that we can work together, whether it's I manage you or I help you get signed or whatever it is. Like, I have to be a part of this. And I had been waiting. I hadn't had a manager up to that point in a long time, because I was waiting for somebody with that kind of fire and that like had those kind of connections. So right before he left the house, he dipped his head back in and he goes, hey, is it cool if I send this stuff to Rick Rubin? And I was like, yeah, it is cool. Like, that's the guy I've been trying to get music to forever, because I knew he'd be the guy who would get it. Like, a lot of the A&Rs would hear it and be like, it's cool, but they wouldn't know what to make of it, because it wasn't just like one genre and some predictable thing. And I knew, Rick's ear being so eclectic and loving every genre and just getting like cool kind of reactive shit. I was like, man, he's the person I know. If he heard what I was doing, he would fuck with it. And then so the next day he called me and he's like, hey, you got a minute? And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, can you go to Rick Rubin's house tomorrow? And I used to have this thing, I still get it occasionally. When I get really excited, I start to like dry heave or something. Like, I get like, so I was so fucking excited. I've been waiting to hear those words like for 15 years. And I started just like dry heaving, like, yeah, I can go over there tomorrow. So then the next day, drove to Rick's house in Santa Monica, about 45 minutes away, pulled up to the gate, had to do the whole, hey, I'm Mikey here to see Rick. Got in there, knocked on the door. And I remember when I was driving up there, I was like, man, this is crazy and surreal. Like, the whole drive was just like, felt kind of like a dream. And I remember reading or watching an interview with Eminem where he was like, Rick Rubin was the one person I was like nervous to meet. So in my head, I was like, fuck, Eminem was fucking nervous. But the minute Rick opened the door and he's just like this dude barefoot, like, what's up, man? Come on in. And so casual and so like friendly and shit, like any nerves I had, and I didn't really have that many, were just going. And then, I sat down in his living room. He doesn't even have like a TV. He just has a vinyl player in the middle of the room, like where most people have a TV. And I was sitting on the couch and we were talking. He was like, yeah, Kanye was over here yesterday playing a bunch of shit, sitting, you know, right where you were sitting. It was just wild to me. Like I was sitting on this sofa, the same place 24 hours earlier. Kanye West was sitting in the same spot. So it was all crazy. And then what happened is Rick loved all the music I played, and he more or less like started to like loosely mentor me, and I'd go up there once a month, play him new stuff, talk about stuff. He'd, you know, guide me, and his whole thing was like, dude, don't wait on anything, just be dropping songs all the time, yada yada. And then I ended up writing Doing Me about, I don't know, maybe a month after I met him. And I knew he was gonna love it. And so I gave it to my managers, and they flipped out. They sent it right to him, and Rick flipped out and asked me to come over the next week. And I was sitting with him, and I remember being like, man, I have to get him to produce this, because I had tried it with other people, and they were always trying to add all these drums and make it really big and epic. And I was like, no, like, it has to stay raw and like just kind of feel like a demo, because the feeling's there right now. And I feel like putting anything else in there might take away from the feeling. It doesn't, it's already, we already know everybody that hears this in this version reacts to it. So there's whatever I do not want to fuck up that magic. And I knew he was the one guy that would get that and know how to, you know, slightly enhance it without taking anything away or adding all this stuff. So went, and I knew he loved this song, and they had told me like he played it for his girlfriend, and his girlfriend started crying when she heard it. And he said the same thing. It made him tear up. So I knew he loved this song. And I was over there, and I was like, man, there's no harm in asking him to produce it. Like, just ask, you know, one of those things, like, you never know if you don't ask. So I was like, hey, you know, I want this song to be the best it can be, and I know it's pretty special, and I know you feel the same way. Would you produce this? Would you produce it with me? Because I don't want anybody to fuck this up. And he's like, man, I love that song so much. I'd love to come back in a week. So week later, I was there, and we were recording it. And, you know, Rick was the one with the idea of like, what if we got a choir? Like the version that came out is not that much different than the demo I had. It's literally the demo vocal, and it was the first vocal I cut. And you can tell in places that in Doing Me, the vocal's actually off beat a little bit. And it's because it's the first time I had ever delivered the vocal, and I didn't even know where words were going to fall. I had written it on a plane to no music. So I just hit play on the music and started speaking it. And it was that first take that was just like, ooh, something happened there. And I actually tried to re-record it on nicer microphones. You know, I tested every mic in there, tried to re-record it. And like, even through all these nicer mics that sounded way better, I couldn't capture that feeling. And I said to Rick, like, man, I don't know. I can't get this vocal right. And he's like, why are we even re-recording the vocal? The vocal's amazing. And I'm like, I recorded it on this shitty mic inside the worst sounding room. You can hear the reverb of the room bleeding into the mic. And it was in this shitty ass M box, and that guitar that's on the track, like I pitched up and it filtered, but I never even tuned the fucking thing. And he's like, you know, I learned a major thing there. He was like, why would we record it? We already know that people love this and react to it. It sounds great. Nobody gives a shit what mic you did it on. They care how it makes them feel. And so the original vocal that was done on the first take stayed. Nothing changed. We just added. Rick was the one who had the idea of like, let's get a bunch of kids in here. So we, you know, got all these kids, and they showed up like, I don't know, 15 of them with their parents, and they were in there. And there was this lady, what was her name? Christina, I think. And she was like conducting them kind of, and had worked with like kid singers before. And I remember her being like, do not say the F word until we're actually recording. And when you leave here, don't say it again. And all these 15 kids were just in there like, fuck, 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 and all just laughing and having, you know, a blast getting to say fuck, and their parents sitting there watching and like cheering them on. It was a pretty funny moment. So then, yeah, that's how it happened. And, you know, Rick, he's not in there turning knobs or playing on a beat machine. He literally just lays down on a couch, closes his eyes and listens, and is like, let's get something in the third verse that raises the energy a little bit, but it's still pretty filtered down and just kind of lifts it, but doesn't get in the way and isn't like intrusive. Like, let's find a sound like that. And then he'd be like, all right, you guys work on that. And he'd leave the room, and me and the damn engineer who was in there to just record the song would start, you know, looking for this thing. And the engineer wasn't a producer. He was just a guy who recorded music. So he was in trying to do like find the right sound. And in my head, I'm like, dude, that's not even in the right planet. Like, let me kind of handle this, because I know what he's talking about and what we need to add in there. But it was funny to be in, you know, Rick Rubin's studio, and the engineer was in there like kind of producing, and Rick's just like off walking around or on the phone or something for a bit. Yeah, so that's pretty much how it went. And then I happened to be signed at Warner at the time, and I had basically done the deal with them. I met with the president of Warner Brothers, and I was also talking with another label, and they were kind of fighting for me in a way. It was a nice position to be in. I had a little bit of leverage to get like a good deal and shit. And I said to the president, like, hey, I'll do this with you guys if you promise and shake with me that for this first single that I did with Rick, that we can get a billboard on Hollywood Boulevard, and I already have the billboard designed, and I know what I want it to be, and it will react and like start a story and make some noise. And so he shook my hand on it. And funny enough, the label, like, we shook on it, I signed with them, and they pushed back so hard on the billboard idea, and we're like, oh, this is a lot of money. Like, we're going to use a good amount of your budget just for one billboard. And like, what if people think you're crazy and are offended? And me and my manager were just like, yo, we shook on this and we're doing this shit. Here's the billboard. Like, get it up, motherfuckers. So they finally, after dragging their feet and pushing back and trying to balk on it, ended up doing it. And it, like, you know, had its kind of viral moment and made all this noise. And all these other labels started calling them, like, who's doing your marketing, who came up with that idea. And they took all the credit for it. They didn't want to do it, but as soon as it came out and it worked, they were like, yeah, that was us type thing. I thought that was pretty funny. That's how they all work. And then, long story short, this guy, Dan, that was the president of Warner Brothers that I signed to, I didn't have an A&R. Like, me, my manager, and Dan, the president, were A&Ring my project. Like, my manager knew Dan. Dan knew my manager was an A&R and, like, you know, had a good ear for this stuff. So he's like, you guys, you're your own A&R and team, and you just come to me and we'll set up all the plans and get the people involved. Well, about a month after that, he ends up getting fired or leaving Warner Brothers, and I was stranded, and they passed me to these new people, A&R, and this new team of people that didn't get my music, didn't give a fuck, wouldn't do anything. They put one finger on it just in case. This is how all the pussy ass label people work. They'll put one finger on the project just in case it blows up. They get to say, oh yeah, we were part of that. That was, you know, that was us. But they don't put their hand on it, because if it doesn't blow up, they don't want the responsibility of being like, oh, that was my project. They want to be like, oh, I was like slightly involved, but yeah, I wasn't really into that. I didn't think it was going to work. So it puts you in a really bad predicament because you can't get shit done. I remember one time I wanted to release a single, and they go, hey, we can't drop it on this date because Mike Shinoda has a single coming out too, and that might be confusing for Spotify since, you know, two mics. And I'm like, He's Mike Shinoda, Mikey Mike. We make completely different music. Nobody that listens to him probably even listens to me, and vice versa. And it was just like that all the time. The biggest bullshit, the biggest fucking spineless pussies. And to be honest, that's pretty much the situation I've had at every label I've been at. And to be fair, I probably don't make it easy on the people because the music's a little all over the place and they don't know, like, do we like pitch it to Spotify alternative playlists, or he's kind of rapping or talking on that? Do we pitch it to rap playlists? Like, we don't know what the hell this is. And so when I moved to Nashville, and part of the reason I moved to Nashville is I signed with a label here at 30 Tigers that was like kind of the best independent Nashville label that had launched like Sturgill Simpson and Chris Stapleton and all these people, but they were mainly country. And I was made this record that was like all over the place, The Life on Earth Volume 2. And they didn't know what the hell to do with it or what it was. I don't even think any of them liked it. So then again, I was in the same place. I'm like, God damn, I'm at a label that's now telling me we need to wait 6 months before we put this out. And I kept getting in the place where it was like, anytime I'd start to get a hair of fucking momentum, I'd end up with this in some situation where I couldn't actually put out music. And I had this thing that was supposed to be helping me push the music and get bigger as an artist, like putting the brakes on everything. So after being at a big label and then at a small one, I was kind of like, I'm done with this shit. I'm going to try to make money trading and doing other things and just build my own team and fund it. And that's been the plan for a while, but naturally it's like you got bills and you have life, and you know, a lot of times whatever money I make has to go towards that or whatever. So my plan to like have all this money and put it into building the team and putting together my own team and promotions and all that has just slowly got, you know, pushed back and makes it tough. So I'm always just trying to refigure out how to navigate on my own and kind of break through the sludge. And honestly, it's tough. It's definitely tough. Like I've been, you know, Instagram, I think I got shadow banned during the COVID era because I was posting all this stuff really early on about like the dangers of the vaccine and how, you know, I thought a lot of shit seemed really bad about it, and you know, I wasn't going to take it, and I was kind of imploring anybody who would like look at some stuff to look at it before going to get the shot or boosters or whatever. And right around that time, my roommate, we followed each other on Instagram. We were good friends and engaged with each other's like pages a lot. And I would post shit and it just wouldn't show up on his shit. Sometimes it'd show up like a week later. Sometimes it wouldn't show up. And I'm like, damn, if one of the people I engage with the most, like I'm commenting on his shit, he's commenting on mine. If he's not seeing it, like who is seeing it? And so I feel like I got put in that Instagram jail where I was just been stuck at 11,000 followers. And even when I hit the strings of like, you know, posting a ton of videos to promote a song or whatever it was, I feel like sometimes it still wasn't really reaching that many people, and the momentum was dying, and my Spotify listens were coming down. And, you know, I'm kind of sitting there honestly looking at everything going like, fuck, what did I do wrong here that I'm struggling to even gain any momentum or, you know, even gain a handful of followers or listeners a year. I'm losing them now. And in my opinion, I'm making just as good or better music than I've ever made. So, and then, you know, obviously it can be really frustrating because you get on Spotify and you get a New Music Friday and half the songs are just this fucking horse shit, like hype beast stuff. And you're like, okay, so even if I have a great song and I pitch it for a playlist, like, because I'm not a cool kid and getting new listeners and triggering the algorithm, like I'm not even in the fucking mix. So then I had like Genesis, which I could tell, you can tell when you put out a tune if it's reacting just by immediately the people that comment and engage with it. And that was one of the ones recently that like immediately people were into. And I honestly, I should have done way more and continued to promote it, but I just got so caught up in other life shit that I dropped the ball a little on continuing to promote it and doing more content and shit. It's honest to God, I just like want to make music and put it out. I hate all the Instagram shit and sitting and making content and posts and but it's part of the game. Like if you don't do that, nobody's gonna see it. But then in my head, I'm like, shit, even if I do it, the fucking algorithm's not pushing it to anybody. There's times when I'm like, man, I should just start a whole new Instagram, whole new fucking Spotify. And I bet in a year's time, I could probably surpass like where I'm stuck right now with a new name and just like whole new trip. So yeah, it kind of it keeps me up at night. Like, man, how do I navigate from here? How do I get out of this like little spot I'm in and break through this threshold and get some new listeners and get new momentum and people excited the way they were back, like, when Doing Me and Cooler and all those tunes came out. And maybe it's that, those songs were a little like poppier in a way. And now I'm kind of making more music that's like the stuff I just enjoy listening to. But I don't feel like it's that different. It's still the same kind of not formula, but like lots of hard, hooks. I don't know. So yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. But one thing I'd like to know from you guys is, in terms of like content and stuff, because one thing I do have going is like getting 50,000 followers on YouTube is not easy, and it is like a foundation. So I need to find a way to like re-trigger the algorithm. And I'm like, okay, I can put out music on here, but I need to make other shit. So I need to make maybe videos on like how to write songs that move people, or just on topics like this, like, on the first time I met Rick Rubin. But I'm curious for you guys, what would be interesting and what you think, like as a fan of the music or a supporter, like the type of content you would want to see that's not just like song audio or music videos or lyric videos. Yeah, here's the hard part, Jeremiah, is that the way YouTube works is the algorithm is so niche to like, if you make music and you make shit that's not music based, it almost doesn't show it to people, or it doesn't really get seen that much because the algorithm knows you as music. Like one time I made this video, Heartbreak Detox, that was about like how to deal with going through heartbreak or a breakup, and it was like a mini film that was really cool, and it was just on the channel a dud basically because YouTube's algorithm is all set to just be music. So it's kind of like whatever I make in terms of content or videos has to be, at least on this channel, and I've literally started another channel called Journey of Mine. I'm about to start posting all the esoteric stuff and just thoughts on life and truth and the deeper layers of like being. It's going to be a whole new channel that I'm just going to try to start building. That's like everything is in that realm. So the algorithm is feeding it to that type of thing, because I don't think it'll get seen much on this channel. But this channel, I want to do music-based stuff, whether it's like this type of thing where it's maybe little films of making music or telling short stories or teaching songwriting. So in the music realm, I'm curious if there's any stuff you guys would like specifically like to see, if like songs or videos on songwriting would, if that's something you watch, or if it's something like, oh, I'm not a songwriter, I wouldn't watch that shit. Hey, thanks, Cali Blue. That's funny you said Dealer. That was another one that was, yeah, it was like a acoustic tune, but I'm like, man, that was it's a pretty badass tune, and just like, you know, put it out and felt a bit like a dud, but you know, shit happens. What makes you happy? Um, yeah, yeah, the AJR thing, that could be cool. I love how he does those videos with all the plants in the room, and it's super vibey. And hey, Jeremiah, I appreciate that, man. When I launch the new channels and stuff, I'll drop it in here. I had started another channel called the Dow Pimpin', but then I realized that YouTube, somebody that kind of is in that fold is like, having pimping in your shit is not going to be good, because it'll take that as kind of like a derogatory word or some shit. So I basically was like, fuck, I'm not going to try to build this channel that's made on a word that is going to get stuck by this algorithm. So the new one's called Journey of Mind. Yeah, actually, Montessori, I think that's cool. Even, you know, all the songs that, like, the stories behind them, like a Yasmin, or like Doing Me, like we kind of talked about here. I would suggest asking. That's what I'm doing, Callie. I'm guessing you mean on a larger scale. Yeah, maybe I'll make a post on here of like, what do y'all want to see? What would intrigue you? What would make you want to watch something and take part in it? Steve, it's cool to see how it all works. If you're not in the music industry, do you find learning about the music industry aspects and hearing those stories interesting, or is it just kind of, you know, like different world, not that you rather hear about music? Not music video ideas, just music arena ideas of anything to do with music. So it could be stories of when I was at a label, or stories of how a song was made, or videos on songwriting, like kind of how I go about it. What's up, Bass Hole? Oh, Bass Hole Fishing. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you love the music. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all you guys popping in and just supporting in that. And yeah, I keep popping on here more when I'm making stuff. Steve, so you would find that interesting. It'd be cool to learn about that. Awesome. Yeah, the songwriting thing I think is really cool, because there's a million videos on how to produce, and yeah, I'll do some of that because, you know, it's part of my world. But I find songwriting is like such a harder thing to do really well, that it's probably like more useful information or wisdom, in the sense that it's going to be harder to find those ideas in other places that aren't just like, make it rhyme and make your melody lift on the chorus. Andrew, do a short film about how you thought about making and getting the equipment, putting everything together, making your first music. Why, where you find yourself. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe I should just almost start at the beginning, like, and then I can like drop my first song I ever recorded at the end of the video, and you know, Grub. I don't know how to DM on YouTube. Are you on Instagram? Hey, Montessori, I really appreciate that. So, I have a Discord, the buy me a coffee thing. I don't know if you guys know about that, but I'm thinking this year because it's been just having so much going on. I'm thinking just making the whole Discord and buy me a coffee thing just like free from now on. And I post demos in there and we, chop it up and shit. And it's something I like to build out. So if it's almost in my mind, I should make it free just because I can't always 100% like commit to being on there. But if more people were on there and getting activated and communicating with each other, I would be super active in there. Thanks, Montessori. I'm glad you enjoy that, man. I want you to stay creative. Yeah, man, that's what I'm in that I'm in that place where I'm trying to just like do anything I can to stay creative and monetize it in a way that like makes it so I can stay creative like daily and not because I'm kind of at that place where I'm like for the first time in a long time where I'm like, fuck, am I gonna have to get a real job if I want to have like a family and have a child and shit? Yeah, I feel like there's something maybe obvious I'm doing wrong that's right under my nose that I'm not realizing because I don't think there's any reason with you know, the music and the quality of the music that it can't be fucking growing and at least to the place where I could make a living off it. So I kind of have to figure out how I'm getting in my own way in a sense. I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things when I die and I'm like moving on to the other side, I'm gonna look back and be like, oh my God, it was right under your nose. That's what was like halting your momentum. And yeah, so I'm trying to figure that shit out before all that. Yeah, I hear people say the life on earth thing, go back to that, but it's really hard for me because I just sit down and I'm not like, I'm gonna make music that sounds like this. I just end up making shit I love or whatever I have to say at the moment. And so naturally it always evolves. So yeah, I don't know that I'll ever go back to the life on earth thing, but I do have songs that I guess are more organic and like guitar based and spoken, kind of like doing me and a little more folky and shit. Like I have a good bit of that stuff. Jeremiah, you said I'll move in and annoy you. You want to come intern? I got a bedroom here. You can come out and we can make this shit happen. Pothead on the couch. Well, we're gonna have to swap the pot for like cocaine or something that stimulates you, man. Something that gets you like, all right, here's what we gotta do. Pothead on the couch isn't gonna help. Then we're both just gonna be smoking pot and on the couch. Yeah, Andrew. Naturally, I love a good conspiracy, and I've been kind of obsessed with all that kind of truth or reality and what's happening behind the curtain, like the strange times type stuff for a while. I actually do have more tunes in that vein. All right, let's see what else this spit us out. Let's see if it did anything with this folk. I don't like that it changed the chord. Why, Steve? Nice to stop generating. I appreciate the love, man. Example, I don't know, maybe like just a minute long. I, re- I really just want the feeling of the chords, and I'm gonna change the tempo completely. I just want a little of that sauce. I don't want it to sound just like the. Montessori, I appreciate that. That see, like Broken Man to me, and even Pumpkin Bread is probably, even though it's a sample of that huge, flips that who was that? Duran or fuck who was that song by? Wham, maybe that the major Christmas song. But even those like that to me is like is the shit I love. They're like soulful and kind of got their own vibe sonically. I still listen to those just for pleasure, but I don't ever listen to the first album type thing. DARPA. What's pretty wild? I actually wrote this one song uh on some real conspiracy shit. And this was super polarizing. And a lot of people won't like this, but I don't give a shit because it's just what I saw as the truth. And it was called The Legend of Wolfgang. And there was this guy named Wolfgang who basically ended up going really deep in on the Sandy Hook thing. And I know people hear that word and they're like, oh my God, how could anybody ever question that? Like, that's disgusting. But we've been lied to about everything. And I don't think anybody should ever feel like um, evil or a bad person for questioning anything. There's a difference between questioning something and looking at it from a lot of angles and going out there and like harassing people or screaming all over about it. But and the whole song about Wolfgang was this Wolfgang guy. He basically made a documentary on the Sandy Hook type situation. And there is a lot of stuff in it that is extremely compelling, that there are not answers for, that if you see, you go, good fucking God. But I simultaneously am not the type to also just see a documentary on it and go, everything in this is truth and this is all truth. I don't know if this guy even who he says he is. So the whole concept of the song was like, oh, Wolfgang, Wolfgang, don't tell us no lie. Wolfgang, Wolfgang, realize, realize. And I'll say this about the Sandy Hook thing, because, you know, when it happened, I went down that rabbit hole. But about a year ago, for about 4 days, I went down the rabbit hole really hard again. I forget why something triggered it. Maybe it was the case with like Alex Jones and this ridiculous shit. Somebody said that, you know, Alex Jones pulled up to their house, or somebody pulled up to their house, shot one of the families or parents, shot a gun into the house and yelled Alex Jones and then drove off. And I'm just like, that most unbelievable shit. It's almost just like the Jussie Smollett shit where he was like, and they said MAGA country in the middle of Chicago and then ran away. But I'll say this about that and why it's still a question in my mind. I don't know what happened that day. I don't know if, you know, those children really died. If they did, you know, bless their heart. I'm not taking anything away from the chance that, yeah, maybe it all did happen, but I am confident it did not go down the way it was said. And about 1 year ago, there was a video of the parents, and one of the guys is Robbie Parker, who's on video literally smirking and laughing. His daughter Emily allegedly had died the previous day, and he's laughing and walking up to the camera, and then he goes, and he doesn't know there's a camera like filming the behind the scenes of the camera that's on him. And so he's like laughing and jolly and smirking and walking up and has this literally jovial face. And then he goes, are we good? And the guy's like, yeah, kind of, we're rolling. And he looks down, goes into actor mode, and then goes from this jovial like laugh and giddy smile to my daughter Emily, da 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 da. And so I actually wrote a verse about him in the song, but there's a video about a year ago of the parents, and I think it was Anderson Cooper or somebody interviewing them in a room, and there's about 7 of them, right? And this is one of the biggest tells to me that something is off in everything. This one interview from a year ago, there's one of the guys that they ask, and you can see him look when he's asked the question. He's one of the parents. He looks over to the left, and you see his eyes scanning a thing. You can tell, you know, when you look at something and you can tell somebody's reading because of their eye movements, where it's scanning across and then they try to look back up and look natural, but you can tell in the rhythm of their delivery and when they pause in their eye scan that they're reading. So I'm going, if this guy is genuine and his child was really killed in this thing and he had genuine emotion and thoughts on it, why on earth would he ever need any kind of teleprompter or to read something off a screen when he's supposed to be recounting what happened and his feelings on it? That makes no sense. And that also means that all the other parents there were literally watching that guy read off the screen too. So yeah, I literally zoomed in on this video and like watched it 100 times. Like, is there any chance he's not reading? And he was literally scanning. And again, this is him talking about his experience and emotion. It's not like him reading back a report that he might forget details on and he needs a teleprompter to like remind him. This is like an experience he was supposed to have that was, you know, changed his life in the most drastic way. Yeah, so I ended up writing a song about that shit, because I was like, man, the fact that this type of stuff happens, and even 9/11 and these things, and it's like there's a moment where people look in and are questioning things, but life moves so fast, and there's another event, and then we all have bills and life to pay, that like it's almost like whatever hand, sadistic, psychopathic hand, is potentially enacting all these things, whether it's the COVID shit or whatever. It's kind of like they know that they can get away with anything, because the way our lives work is we put our attention on something. As soon as people start to question it, they bury it all, and then something else happens, and now they have to catch up with that. And so it's I don't know, but it definitely keeps me up at night. And I do think we truly are in a spiritual war here, between like truth and deception, and like any kind of honesty and righteousness and humility from arrogance. And these psychopaths have God complexes. Like you look at say a Klaus Schwab that just stepped down or was fired from the World Economic Forum, but that ran it, and you listen to the guy speak, and there's a lot of people that think like, oh, he's a psychopath, he's purely evil. I don't know that he's like maniacally evil in the sense that he outright wants to harm people. I think his evil and his sin is in his arrogance and his God complex, in believing that he knows better for humanity than they know for themselves. And he's going to be the one to dictate, how many gallons of gas you can get and fill up your tank, or how many, fucking pounds of meat you can get at the store, or, you will own nothing and be happy. All this horseshit. We're moving into like this age of everything's like subscription based. And it's really sneaky too, because I know from making music that subscription based shit is great, because I can't afford to buy these plugins that, if I was to buy them outright, would cost me $200,000, but I can afford to pay $20 a month for them. But the problem lies that you get used to those type of systems, and that's how they get you in. It's like, oh, it's just $20 a month. You don't have to buy the whole thing. And if you want to cancel it because you're not making music, you can. But then the problem is you have no ownership of anything. And so if those companies say they were politically motivated, and I made a song called Wolfgang and it sounded like I was a conspiracy theorist, they could be like, we no longer are going to license or rent you our tools because we don't like the music you're making. And then it's like, fuck, can I not, all those tools that I've been paying month to month, and I could have owned some of them. Now I have none of them, and I've, used them forever, and it's how I make music. It's even like these goddamn BMWs. They come with heat warmers in the BMW, but you have to pay $30 a month to have the goddamn seat warmer activated. And so that scares me, in the idea of that's how I think they will naturally segue us into the you will own nothing and be happy, is with the subscription model for fucking everything. You just subscribe and pay a little money, and then at the end of the day, you have no right to anything, no ownership of it, and all this money you spent on those, say you paid 2 years monthly, like you have no ownership or equity or anything in those tools. So if they decide to take them away for any reason, or jack up the price crazy or whatever it is, you're kind of fucked. So yeah, that's where I definitely think things are going, and I'm very skeptical about, and very try to catch myself from getting, excited about that world of like, fuck it, now I don't have to buy all these things. I can just pay a monthly thing. This is so much cheaper and better. It's like, yeah, it's awesome, but it comes at a price. It comes at a price. 1975 truck. Jeremiah flight 77, traveling 77 minutes, hitting the 770. Yeah, it's very strange. Numerology, time cycles, and like I noticed this in stock trading. Stocks will move and hit a place on a certain time cycle, and it's like, I guess because the world we live in is like genetically coded and binary in a sense. Like things are either on or off. They're either a 1 or a 0. Numerology is like tied in everything. And I'm sure you've heard this, that in terms of any kind of like occult incidents, they're always going to leave clues with the timing. And obviously there's the theories that like any action of the devil or dark entities, like in a way they almost have to tell people ahead of time. They have to let you know what they're going to do and then do it in a way. And they use the numerology and the dates things fall on. And it's bizarre, man. But no, even like somebody could hear that and be like, that's ridiculous. It's all coincidence. They're just numbers. Like, I don't believe that. I don't think there's any coincidence. I think there is almost a master algorithm to our existence, and numerology is, and numbers are completely tied into that. It's even like, and you have Fibonacci, like Fibonacci ratios, and it's really interesting because even if you look at a stock chart, price respects Fibonacci levels. So even in something as random as price moving, which is supposed to be, even though it's market makers manipulating it, but even though it's supposed to be like Tom and Willie trading shares of Apple between each other, and random and based on human emotion, and the price is, theoretically determined by human emotion and reaction, they still respect, like the golden pocket in trading is if you have something make a leg up and it retraces and it comes right to the 0.62, where it's, about made a retracement of about 2/3 of the leg up it made. Usually in that golden pocket is the type of area, if you have a bullish market structure and on a higher time frame, the price is delivering bullish, that is the zone where you would be looking to potentially long it again if the stock was moving up. So it's super bizarre that like you have Fibonacci in nature of like the span of a butterfly's wings or the spiral of like a tulip. It's all following these ratios and numbers that Fibonacci discovered, and simultaneously somehow too it's in goddamn stock charts that are not like a physical thing. It's literally emotion. And it's strange too, and part of the reason I think there's a master algorithm kind of to everything is like, even in stocks, the way stocks usually move is you have an accumulation or a range, then you'll get a manipulation where you'll have your range and you'll break out of the range, and it triggers all the people, say if it breaks out to the downside, all those people who were longing the bottom of the range, as soon as it breaks the downside, it hits their stop loss and takes them out. It also then triggers all the people who are waiting for a breakout to the short side to play it short. So it stops out all the longs that were built in this range, triggers shorts, fuels the liquidity to come down, and then that's where they buy, and it makes the real move and blast through the range. But it's interesting because sometimes you have something that's been ranging on like a weekly chart, and for weeks it's been doing this, and then it makes its manipulation and breaks below the range, and I might sitting there be watching, or whoever's trading it going, all right, here's our manipulation. what's going to be actually the catalyst that triggers this manipulation to end and it to make the real move. And out of nowhere, there'll be some global news that was not like some political, CPI number or inflation number that they could know ahead of time or fudge or whatever. It'll be like a global event that unfolds at the time that's made the manipulation right at the bottom when I'm looking at going, okay, I think this might be the bottom of the spring. We're getting in this zone. Like, is this a genuine breakout? I don't think it is. I think now they're going to send it up the other way. And that's where you would look to, go the other way. There'll be some world event that happens right when it's at the bottom of the manipulation and just rips the thing straight up. And you're like, I knew the move was going to come at this point to send it through the range and up. But this move that just happened was based on a world event that nobody knew until 3 fucking minutes ago. So it's like somehow the chart knew ahead of time because everything was almost already written in terms of time cycles and mirroring. Like, I don't even know, man. It's trippy as shit. It trips me out. Staring at charts until 3 a.m. like, also see crazy geometric stuff where like a bunch of angles converge at a certain point, like these subtle kind of trend lines that might not be super obvious to the eye, but then I'll notice all these lines are converging at this singular point, and I'll draw a vertical line at the place that they converge, and then I'll wait. And sure enough, when it hits that point, when all those angles of those major lines collide, it usually on that, like 90% of the time, it's a reversal. Sometimes it'll be a pivot and it'll chop at that place and then make a giant move down. Sometimes, majority of the time, it's the reversal place. So I'll sit and just wait for these multi-crosses of these angles coming together. And so it trips me out because I'm sitting there looking like, man, this is, again, supposed to be just human emotion and random price action determined on, earnings and situations that happened and random shit. But I could already predict that when it came to this line, there was going to be a huge spike of volatility, and it was most likely going to be in this direction. And, it's seeing it over and over. It's just like, man, there's something strange tying everything together. It's almost like everything is, I don't know if it's because, everything is the moment and the here and now, and there is no past and there is really no future. There's just the moment that, in a way, it's like everything is already written because it's just one singular point of the present. I don't know. Yeah, that was, I guess, a meta rant. All right, guys, I'm gonna get something to eat, get a little water, get back to making some music, but I'm gonna hop back on. I appreciate all you guys for dropping in. I'm gonna try to at least once, twice a week, just pop in. I enjoy coming and hanging with people, and I appreciate you guys stopping in and your support and shit. And yeah, hit me up on Instagram or the sideline, the 323-457-8794. It's better to text me first because I stupidly put that number into some thing looking for somebody to work on something at a time, and it ended up just like the place I put it in that was supposed to be like trusty and well respected as a platform ended up giving the number to fucking everywhere, and I was getting swamped with all these spam calls, and they've started to slow down, but now when I see it ring, I'm like, oh man, that's probably spam. So if you just text me there first, I'll catch it. And yeah, any ideas you have on content or stuff you guys would like to see, or ideas, or just ideas or critiques from the outside. I have no ego about this shit. I'm just trying to have the music reach as many people as possible because I think, people generally get good vibes from it and it brings them something positive. And I feel like it can do that for more people. And, obviously, truthfully and honestly, I needed to kind of sustain a career in the selfish way. So yeah, any ideas you guys have of like, hey, from the outside, like, I noticed that I'm really engaged with artists when they do this thing, or like, I loved when you used to back in the day do those question and answer things on Instagram, or whatever it is that you feel like would personally make you from the outside more engaged, and maybe other people. There's probably a lot of shit I'm just overlooking because I'm like inside it, so I don't have the perspective to fully stand outside and be like, that's the thing. So, I love all the 2 cents you got on whatever it is to help, amp this shit up and keep it alive. I just fully feel in my heart and have true belief that like it's not all going to be said and done until I play Red Rocks. Like I've always had a strong vision of like playing there and headlining that shit, and I know it's possible, and I know there's a path to that. So it's just, making the music and navigating in a way that leads there. So yeah. All right, guys. Everybody have a great weekend. I might pop back in here sometime on Sunday or whatever. But yeah, hit me up and thanks for coming through. Peace. Oh yeah. I have a screen over here that I'm looking at the chat on. That's why the camera's up here, but I'm looking over here. This is my screen with my feet. I should put it over here, but not that it fucking matters. FBI and Men in Black will come visit you. Hey, thanks for the love, Jeremiah. Love all you too, man. Love all you guys too. I appreciate you all. I really do see the people who, relate to the music, kind of as family in a way. And I will say that's one of the things I'm the most pumped and feel blessed about is like when we used to do the weekend at Mikey's and like, or play shows and I get to meet people. I found the people that resonate with the music are genuinely some of the coolest motherfuckers on the planet. And it makes me happy because I went on a tour with a buddy who like started making, he made pretty indie music for a while that was really badass. And then he started going more and more pop, and all the people that came to the show to see him were like 13-year-old kids, and he'd have to do these meet and greets. And he kind of said to me one time, he was like, dude, what the fuck did I do? Like, it's all children listening to my shit now. And I felt for him in that moment, but I feel blessed to not be in that predicament. Not like, yeah, you want everybody. I hope 13-year-olds hear it and love it. But if I went and played a show and it was all 13-year-olds, I'd be like, man, something ain't right here. All right, guys, I'll catch you soon. I'm signing off. It's been real. You guys have a great weekend. I appreciate the love.